The last time in the NOVAR Verizon Cup Series at the track, Logan Chin took the victory at Road America for his first victory of the season and his first win since Chicagoland of 2013. This week we head to the Grand Detour Speedway, the half-mile oval that is located in Quincy, Illinois, for a 200-lapper around the track. Most fans think that that NOVAR comes to the track because of the amount of wrecks that they have. However, the reality is the track actually has some pretty good racing grooves. Turn 1 and 2 is mostly the inside is the preferred line around the track, whereas when you get to turn 3, depending on what run you get, the outside is mainly the preferred line around that turn. Our big storyline heading into this weekend is that it's mainly silly season rumors, however, no significant ones. The first of which is that Target, which will sponsor Casey Littinger at Indianapolis in about a couple of races, has confirmed it will be the new full-time sponsor for car number 5 after Monster Energy has departed for expanded ventures with the old Mobile One Racing team. And speaking of that, Mike Hogan has officially confirmed he will not return to Tyson Bell Racing, and he has officially signed a contract with Ease Racing for 2015. It is not known what number he'll have or what sponsor he'll have for 2015, but Hogan joins a very good team with a very good amount of stability as Walter Youthen, Jay Arnori, Chandler Blake, and Chris Bell, which out of those 4 drivers, the only driver that has not visited victory lane is Walter Youthen, and Walter Youthen's had a very strong season so far in the number 8. As Chandler Blake is currently our points leader, has basically been the points leader since California, and Jay Arnori has posted 2 victories this season, and Chris Bell had that surprising victory at Sacramento. So Hogan joining the team should add a little bit extra firepower to it. It was also initially rumored that Coca-Cola would sign over, as right now it does appear that Coca-Cola could move over to Ease Racing and would actually help sponsorship for that car, especially for car number 38 at Chris Bell. And now we'll head to Kendall Johnson for the race recap. Thank you, as Damon Scott in car number 18 leads the field down to the green side. Logan Chin, last race winners, is on the outside with Sean McDowell in car number 10. Looks like McDowell in the 10 car is already going to make a move under the 72 of Logan Chin. And it appears that car number 10 of Sean McDowell will get that second spot. I believe that's Jonathan Winslow is already looking for the 3rd spot. However, car number 18 of Damon Scott will lead the first lap here, with Sean McDowell only about half a second behind. And it appears that Logan Chin was able to hold off that 00. Yes, it is actually the 09 of Ike Jace Jr. right there. As there you see Sean McDowell in the 10s trying to close down on that 18 of Damon Scott as we complete the second lap. As that 10 car is closing in, as McDowell actually had a pretty good run so far in this race. As McDowell, his season's not been great, but we would have our first caution come out on lap number 3. Something breaks on the 73 of Shane Truex's car. He slows down, and as he tries to merge back down, he gets run to the back by Shane Clark the 3rd. Jay Killen, Chris Clark, Max Rapon, and Jay Arnori are all collected in this wreck, as we would have a restart on lap 8. Damon Scott and car number 18 would lead on this restart with Sean McDowell in 2nd, Shane Harden 3rd, and Casey Lester in the 4th spot with Shane Harden in 5th. Shane Harden is back after his 1-race suspension that happened at New York, and he was suspended at Road America. Brad Curtis, who drove that car at that last race, did a very impressive job at doing so, as Harden is already making his comeback, his first race back, a very statement as this New York auto ring antics were no fluke, as Harden in car number 59 is going to try to take the lead away from car number 18 of Damon Scott. Shane Norgan of the 32 falls behind, as the 32 is going to run towards the middle line, and it looks like Norgan almost appears there, but you see smoke. That is from our second caution of the day, lap 18. Tony Wander gets into the side of Chandler Blake. He spins the 35 around. Wander almost gets it back going, but he slides it backwards again. Car number 35 will continue on. Shane Harden actually led the field into the pits. It was actually supposed to be the leader on the restart. However, he pitted again. So as a result, Shane Norgan in car number 32 is going to be the leader on the restart. Todd Piper in car 26 in 2nd. Jason Duke in 3rd. As the 32 of Shane Norgan, he has the 35 of Tony Wander, who is a lap down, as we have another yellow flag on lap 24 right after the restart. As the restart was a little bit confusing, as cars would bunch up in the back of the field. Cars would bunch up in the field, and as a result, this would lead to a pack. Casey Littinger would turn the 39 Walter Green, and then I'll come back up the track, and it appears that Harden goes over the fence, and I believe the 71 is starting to roll down the track. Here's from Brandon Green's perspective. It appears that the 71 goes over once, and the 59 doesn't go over the fence. And the 30 knocks the 71 over, and the 71 will go for a series of barrel rolls. Here's from Connell Zucchi's perspective. as he rolls over once and actually appears to keep it on going, but the 30 knocks him back over, and that sends the 71 tumbling down the banking, which is quite a steep banking, almost comparable to Talladega, as we have Shane Nargan in 32 leading on this restart lap number 29, as Evan Brooks in second. But remember, these two actually had raced at Darlington earlier in the year. However, neither of them actually won the race. As a matter of fact, Nargan actually beat Brooks in that race, where Evan Brooks, who ran into the turn 4 wall on the final corner of the race, not only did he lose the win and second, he also lost the third spot to Nargan, surprisingly. So as a result, it is somewhat of a rematch for Brooks. He had that momentum off of that final corner after getting into the wall. Our third caution will come out on lap number 39. Walter Euthan in the Luke Warren of the 14 runs into the pit wall, and we would have a most confusing scenario. The restart was called off as we take the green flag there. The caution never really seemed to come out because the pace car was on the track. I don't know what was going on with the pace car driver, but NOVAR would probably have a odd discussion with that. But meanwhile, back up front, Jonathan Winslow was actually the race leader on the restart. But however, that's going to be short-lived, as Casey Lester in car number 12 is going to get by and will get the race lead, as he is now going to try to contend with the lap car of Sean McDowell in car number 10. McDowell was off the lead lap, and I believe he was one of the first cars to get away from the leaders early on in this race, as the 12 of Lester is right now pulling away from Ike Jr., who is the second place car. There you see the 11, James Wilson Jr., I believe, who is also off on the lead lap, as Casey Lester just drives on by. Our next caution will come out on lap number 62, as Chadler Blake is right now running a Chris Clark, apparently gets into the wall. Chadler Blake at the 15 goes around, and he gets hit by Brandon Green in the 30. So your points leader going into this weekend for the second straight week has issues. However, unlike Road America, he won't continue on, and he will be done for the day. He'll finish 33rd. Casey Lester in car number 12 doesn't really have a good restart, so as a result, the Bulls Racing teammates of Jonathan Winslow and Ike Chase Jr., with Ike Chase Jr. leading the charge, takes the lead away from Casey Lester, as Ike Chase Jr. in the 09. Oh, looks like Lester almost got into the back of Winslow there, as we would have our next caution, as it appears that Chris Clark gets into Brian Dawson, and as a result, that sends him into Blake Battaglia, which gets into Logan Chin in the 72. We would have a restart on lap number 73, as Ike Chase Jr. in the 09 was the leader. Jonathan Winslow was in second. Casey Lester looks like, actually that's Walter Euthan, excuse me, is trying to get under that number 00 of Jonathan Winslow. Ike Chase Jr. meanwhile is pulling away, as it didn't really appear that Euthan was able to get around that 00. We had the next caution, lap number 78. Justin Klingston would spin down the track into the pit wall, and Chris Bell comes flying in. However, the 24 would bounce into the wall. Here's what happened to Chris Bell. He bounces off the 9 of Jamie Scott A, as the 38 just apparently stalls out there. Nobody in the pit area was injured. Whatever. The 09, the 00 of Jonathan Winslow was the leader on this restart. Todd Piper in second, and the 25 of Scott Howard in third. Very quiet season. It has been a quiet season for car 25 of Scott Howard, as Howard's in that 25 car is now looking for that second spot, as Winslow is right now holding onto the high line. Todd Piper in the 26 looks like he's going to go to the bottom of the racetrack, and car 26, Todd Piper, will take the lead, and Jonathan Winslow will lose that second spot to Scott Howard in car 25. Scott Howard has practically had a very quiet season so far in that 25 car. There you see Piper in the 26 in the lead. He's actually pulling away. We will have our next caution happen on lap number 86. Damon Scott and Logan Chin tangle. Brian Kittleson and I think that was Sean McDowell. All of them get together as they cause our as a caution. Lap 91 was the restart. Todd Piper in the 26 was the leader. Jonathan Winslow was in second. Scott Johnson, car 58, was third. As there you see, it looks like the 26. He's going to hold around to the bottom, to the outside of the track. There you see the 64 Brian Dawson. Dawson's off the lead lap, as Piper looks like he will get under the 66 of Jason Duke, who is a lap down. Jason Duke's actually had a pretty good season in that 66 so far. I believe he failed to qualify for Dentsville, but other than that, he's been racking up a pretty good season, almost comparable to 2008. He hasn't won a race since 2010 in Cleveland, to be exact. So that's how desperate he needs to win, but however, it looks like as of now, it's not going to happen. There you see the 00 of Jonathan Winslow is right now has closed the gap on that 26 of Todd Piper, and the 00 of Jonathan Winslow looks like we're going to have to see if he makes a move Not yet, but however, Winslow will never make the move because he will be involved in our caution at lap 100. He will be spun into the pit wall, actually clipped the back end of that car, and the 00 will continue on. Scott Howard in car 25 will lead on this restart, as Howard is led by CJ Gordon in the 48, I believe, in the second spot, as Logan Chin's, I believe, a lap down. Damon Scott in the 18 third, Scott Johnson in the 58 is fourth. The 25 would get away from everybody on the restart, as the 88 Alan Kimmel was, I believe, the only one that was able to keep pace with that number 25 Fastenal Toyota for Chain Racing. As I mentioned, Scott Howard's had a very quiet season. I only gets into the back of Alan Kimmel a little bit. The 25 of Scott Howard's had a very quiet season so far. His season has been great, to be exact, in that 25 car, but he's actually locked that car in for every single race so far this season. Next caution will come out on lap 122. Brian Kittleson, the 53, slides it across the track, and that's about the fourth car to actually go behind that wall, which is kind of unusual. Which car, we've rarely seen that, but now we've seen like 4 happen in this race. Scott Johnson, car 58, lead on this restart lap 127, as James Wilson Jr. almost gets a little bit loose there, as now he is trying to do everything he can to keep control of that car. But meanwhile, Scott Johnson, the car 58, would be able to pull away from the field as the 58 were there. Next caution coming out on lap 131. The 73 as Shane Truex gets loose and spins it across the track, as the 73 would actually be able to keep driving away into the pit wall. On the restart, Scott Johnson, car number 58, would be the leader, as Steve Volk in the 29 second, Casey Lester third, Evan Brooks in fourth. Looks like the 66 at Duke gets by the 58 Scott Johnson. Alan Kimmel in the 88 looks to do likewise. Kimmel gets way low, almost tries to get the 58. Johnson gets a run, however, looks like the 88 will beat him back to the line. However, we do have another caution on lap number 137, as here's what happened. Damon Scott, looks like Cody White comes up the track, gets into CJ Gordon, which gets Damon Scott in car 18. The 22 gets up in the fence a little bit, however, both cars will continue on going. Scott Johnson, car number 58, would be the leader on this restart, with Stephen Volkins from 29 in second, Casey Lester in third, as the top 4 remain virtually unchanged. Casey Uto in the 5th spot in that number 19 quiet run for car number 19. Johnson in the 58 gets away from Brian Dawson, as Stephen Volkins 29 still has to deal with those lap cars. So does Casey Lester in car number 12. Johnson gets away, but just like what happened with the last restart, we would only get 1 lap in. Keith Hales, car number 27, bounces off Ethan Zarin. The 27 slides down the track and almost hits the pit wall. Doesn't hit anything, but James Wilson Jr. runs into him. Car 27 would actually be able to pit. Here's what happens in the second aftermath. Shane Truex actually comes back up the track, gets into Alan Kimmel, and the 73 and 88 will spin. Both of them will continue on going. Car number 58 of Scott Johnson is back in the lead, is still in the leader, as the top 5 have remained virtually unchanged, as basically we've had 2 one-lap cautions. As there you see, unlike the last restart, Brian Dawson gets a better restart, while Stephen Volk has just a terrible restart. The 64 Dawson's going to be able to hang in there until car number 58 of Scott Johnson is going to get to the high side and will hang on around the outside lane. And car 58 of Scott Johnson is right into the lead again, as we have our next caution lap 165. Jamie Scotty bounces into the wall and hits the end of the pit wall hard for car number 9 of Jamie Scotty. Luckily, Scotty was able to get out of that car in his own power, and luckily he is okay. We would have a restart in lap 170, as Johnson is in the lead. Second place still remains unchanged. However, third place is now Scott Howard in car 25. Howard is already going to make a move under the 29 of Stephen Volk, as Howard is looking to the bottom of the racetrack, looking, but however couldn't really get the move done, as Howard in the 25 is now going to try again. Scott Howard is the older brother of Shane Howard. Shane Howard's not had a great season so far. Scott Howard, as I mentioned several times, he's had a quiet season. Looks like he's appeared to make the pass on the 29, and it looks like it's going to stick for now. However, several laps later, car number 25 would run down the 58 of Scott Johnson. And the 58 of Scott Johnson, he is right now holding the middle line. Looks like Howard's going to go a little bit low. Scott Johnson's going to hold the middle line. And Scott Howard in car 25 looks like he will appear to get to the lead here. And to the inside. The inside's not really the preferred line here. The 25 of Howard gets a better run off that corner, as that turn 3 and 4 depends on how you get it off. You have to get it off the way you want it in order to get it right. Looks like car 25 to the race lead. There you see the 09 of Ike G. Jr. He is a lap down, as car number 25 of Scott Howard has never won a Verizon Cup Series race. He's been in the series since 2010. Didn't race in 2011 because he was not contracted for a ride. However, came back in 2012 replacing Stefan Papiez, who somehow had a miserable season and was not really obligated to the team. As the 25 of Howard, he's going to stick it to the high side and will hang on, as that 09 is, I believe, just one lap down, as the 25 is just going to try to stick it to the outside. The 09 of Ike J. Jr. looks like Howard's going to run it at the bottom of the Bankton corner. Looks like Ike J. Jr. is going to hang on to that line. There you see Stephen Volk in the 29. He's in second spot in that Armor All Ford. The 29 of Ike J. Jr. is going to try it again, as Ike J. Jr. trying to do every desperate measure to take the lap back, as if he is not on the lead lap at the conclusion of the regulation, if somehow a caution comes out, that means he will not be able to race in the next overtime period. Looks like these 09 will be able to get back underway. However, we would have a caution with about 7 laps to go. The 72 Logan Chin spins and hits the pit wall. Logan Chin would appear to get out of his car under his own power, and we would have a restart coming with 2 laps to go, as the 25 Howard was the leader. There you see Casey Lester at 12, already going to try to make a move under the 36 of Ethan Zarin, and try to make a move under Chris Clark in the 56. Looks like he'll appear to get away from both of them. However, does he have enough time to run down the 25 and pass him, as they're going to be taking the white flag this time by? Scott and Howard has already built up a 1-second lead here, as the 25 is right now. There you see Lester in there. Lester has moved himself into second. The battle for third looks like it will be between Volk and Jason Duke. And in turn 3 and 4, Howard working with a 1-second gap will come out of turn 4. His brother won this race in 2011, and now Scott Howard will win at Grand Detour in 2014. Casey Lester gets second, and Stephen Volk gets third. So Scott Howard joins his brother as winners here at the Grand Detour Raceway. His brother won this race in 2011, that is being Shane Howard. Casey Lester, who got by the lap cars, however, did not have enough time to run down Scott Howard. He finished second. And about the note about Scott Howard, this track is, I believe, the first track in NOVAR history to have 2 different pair of brothers win races here. The Clark brothers were the only other brothers to win here. Shane Clark the first won this race 3 times. Shane Clark the second won it 5 times. Casey Lester, I mentioned, he finished second, about a second off the race leader. And that's where those lap cars can interfere. Stephen Volk beat Jason Duke back to the line for the 3rd spot, so Stephen Volk gets position number 3. Jason Duke in car number 66 gets the 4th spot in the number 66 eBay Ford. Scott Johnson, who practically led the most laps basically in the last quarter of the race, he winds up 5th spot. Casey Uto in car number 19, a very quiet 6th place finish. And Todd Piper in car number 26 gets a 7th spot. And this is a very crucial 7th spot, as Piper looks like he will appear to cut the gap on Chandler Blake's points lead, as Blake was involved in a wreck, while Piper gets the 7th spot. Damon Scott finishes 8th. He had somewhat a quiet day after losing the lead early on in the race. Walter Uthan also had a very quiet day. He finishes 9th. He wasn't exactly up front, but was running around the top 5 practically for some portion of the race. And then Evan Brooks in the 95 rounds out the top 10. And now let's take a look at your point standings. Chandler Blake's points lead is cut to 33 points by Todd Piper in the number 26. Casey Lester also cuts in on the points lead. He jumps 3 spots to the 3rd spot in points after having his 2nd place finish. Todd Piper gains 1 spot as a result of his 7th place finish. Keith Hales in the 27 falls 2 spots after having a dismal run here. He falls only to 4th in points. Cody White remains in the 5th spot in the points, while Shane Nargan, who had somewhat of a dismal day in the 32, falls 2 spots to the 6th spot. Jason Duke is our big winner of the top 15. He gains 5 spots from the 12th spot to 7th, and I believe this is the first time since I believe 2008 that he's actually been in the top 10 in points. Shane Clark III falls 1 spot to the 8th spot, and that will round out your top 8. And now we'll look at 9 through 15. Tony Wider gains no spots. He is tied with Shane Harden with 88 points back, 325 total points. Shane Harden, as I mentioned, he is tied for 9th with Tony Wider. However, Harden should actually be ahead of Wider. However, due to the standings, it shows a little bit inconsistency. Jan Arnori in the number 01 is in the 11th. He is tied with Damon Scott for the 11th spot, 321 total points. Damon Scott, as I mentioned, was tied with Jan Arnori. He gains 4 spots to get into that tiebreaker, while Jan Arnori loses 3 spots. Shane Harden gained 3 spots as a result to get to 10th. Brandon Green in car number 30 falls 3 spots to the 13th spot, 94 points back. Justin Kingston gains 1 spot to the 14th spot. Logan Chin in the 72 rounds out the top 15. He loses 1 spot to the 15th spot. Our overall big winner of this weekend was your race winner, Scott Howard, who went from 30th to 20th throughout the weekend. And our biggest loser was Luke Warren, who fell from 19th to 27th in points. Next week's race will be the 4th and final regular season South Carolina Part-Timers Challenge event at Camden Motorsports Complex in Camden, South Carolina.